Hey Emma,
Yes, Madeline.
why are all Tetris blocks weirdos?
Gosh, I just don't know.
Because when they fit in, they disappear!
Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm one of your hosts, Emma,
And I'm your other hilarious host, Madeline.
and we are here for a new full-fledged episode for you.
She didn't even challenge the hilarious. It's a good joke this week.
I just let it go because I'm pretty sure they can tell that you're lying.
Wow, rude. But yeah, full-length episode, the Talk This reunion episode.
Yes,
Reunited.
we're sitting here at home with our dogs, so if you hear any sniffing in the background, it's not
just
us.
Oh.
It is us.
Oops. So this week, as usual, we've got an old game, we've got a new game. Tell the people what the games are, Emma.
Well, the old game is Tetris, as you may have gathered, and the new game is Firewatch.
The new game is Dog Walks Over Our Microphone. Aww, we've got a third co-host here today, sitting right between us. We got a pup.
Say hello to Cappy, everybody.
Cappy, do a sniff.
No, he's not. He's not participating.
Oh, wow.
He's observing.
Cappy's a really big fan of Tetris.
Yes, he loves it.
He loves it. He's a
Because
big
it
player.
makes things go away.
Well, dogs would like Tetris, 'cause it's sort of about, like, sticks.
They're not all stick-shaped, though.
They're
I guess some of them
mostly
are balls.
stick-shaped. Yeah.
But they can't chase them. They have
Really?
to...
It's a game that was designed for a dog.
I don't think so.
No, not at all. I feel like I've already exhausted a lot of my Tetris content in side quests.
That's true.
Because it's a game that I've talked about at least twice, I
Mhm.
think. At least once.
Well, if you need the plot of Tetris, it's a tragedy in which these
Shakespearean.
blocks are stuck in prison, and the only way out is to form big cults and take each other out all at
Is
once
that canon?
through death. No, that's my fan theory.
Wow.
That's my headcanon.
Wait, is there... Oh no, Pup is on my phone. Is there Tetris fan fiction?
I can totally check, but I think the answer is definitely yes.
That's a scary world to wander into. So Tetris is probably the most played video game of all time.
Oh yeah.
Like far and away.
It's been played on like the side of buildings. It's so big.
Yeah. Oh wow. That's something. Do they do, and I feel like
14
14?
on this one.
Oh wow.
I'm on Archive of Our Own.
This is this is not fascinating for you,
The
listeners.
Lonely World, the tragic reality of a Tetris block with a pairing.
Oh my god.
Wow, that sounds
Wow. What's your one true pair for Tetris? Mine is the square. No. Mine is I'm trying to think of the blocks in Tetris and how I usually use them. You've got to have a Z block because that's like the outsider, like the dark outsider, you know, because it sucks.
That's weird.
But I can't think of something good to go with the Z block. Maybe the square block, and they just like don't fit together at
Wow.
all.
So romantic.
romantic. Two lovers divided by the shape of their bodies. There is a Tetris movie coming, though. I think.
Tetris movie?
I'm pretty sure, again, and without internet search capability, because there is a dog
It's right here
on my
behind
phone.
you.
Oh, I'm without common sense. But I'm pretty sure that there is a Tetris movie in the works.
There's an emoji movie.
There is an emoji movie. No, Tetris movie. It's real. The plans for the surprise new Tetris movie will bend your mind. Back at this time last year, when it was sort of announced, it had an $80 million budget. Also, apparently it's
What?
going to be a trilogy.
What?
Yep. Yep. Although somebody calls it a film based on the classic Game Boy game, Tetris.
Wow.
Pretty sure Tetris predates the Game Boy
Yeah, I think
by
so.
some years.
Also, shouldn't it be a quartet because of Tetris? Isn't that more appropriate?
Yeah, but like...
And all the blocks have 4 blocks, right? So...
Haven't we learned that quartets don't work? Like, people don't... By the time the 4th movie comes out, no
well,
one's
that's just when they
anymore.
take a 3rd book and split it into 2. That's dumb. If it's supposed to be a trilogy, keep it a trilogy.
That's dumb. As opposed to making 4 movies about a game that's about moving blocks around. Yeah. Dumb. So much story required there.
Yeah, it is.
The video game movie phenomenon is kind of interesting. Our other game that we're talking today, Firewatch, has also been optioned for a movie.
Yes, which I am unsure about, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking at the sort of basic facts on Tetris that I have right now. I thought that this game was a lot older than it is. It was only released in 1984.
I mean, that's pretty old.
I realize that's ancient in video game history, but isn't Pong like 1960s?
Well, yeah, but Pong is a lot simpler than Tetris.
I mean, yes, true, but not that much. I mean, I guess that's exponential when you're talking about the early video game days. But I don't know. To me, right now, they don't feel like, oh, it's like it's lines moving to hit a ball back and forth, as opposed to lines falling.
Yeah, but there's like a lot less pixels that go into Pong.
You're absolutely right. I am just dumb and not a game designer.
There you go.
Wow, it was derived from the Greek numerical prefix tetra, which we've talked about, and tennis.
Because it was his favorite sport.
But it has nothing to do with tennis.
Maybe he just was uncreative.
I mean, like, I guess it's like, oh, it's sort of a video game sport thing. A video game sport thing? Man, Tetris is gonna be great in the fun, whatever it's called.
Oh my god.
Funnasium. It's not the Funnasium.
It's not even close to the Funnasium.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's like your Hall of Wellness or whatever. And Death.
Hall of Wellness. Oh yeah, we play like live Tetris.
Where if the people are the Tetris blocks.
Yeah.
That's a horror movie.
I guarantee that's been done. I guarantee it's been done.
No, that's horrifying. Unless you're really athletic, I guess.
I mean,
like a contortionist.
It becomes like it's like a marathon type thing. Because here we go. The question of, would it be possible to play forever was first encountered in a thesis by John, not even going to try to pronounce this last name, Brzezowski in 1992. Apparently the game is inevitably doomed to end.
Yes.
What does that say about us as humans? Tetris is a metaphor for human life.
Human existence.
That's actually not a bad metaphor, I would say.
We all fall through life, trying to fit into places. But eventually it all inevitably ends.
What I meant was at first the blocks fall pretty slowly, and it's not that hard.
Okay.
And then eventually they fall really fast, and it's really hard.
Wow, okay.
That was a little bit less deep than yours, evidently. They're called tetriminos?
Because they're like dominoes.
Well, no, they're nothing like dominoes.
But they're like...
But there's nothing similar about how you play this game and how you play dominoes.
It's more like the figure, not the game.
All dominoes have the same shape.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, so they're called tetriminos. Fun fact, fun little trivia. Ben.
He just sighed at you.
I know he did. Wow, okay. If a player receives a large sequence of alternating S and Z tetriminos, which I guess they're called different things depending on the order, the naive gravity used by the standard game, what does that mean? Naive gravity?
Is that when you can, like, slide it?
No, but, like, why is it naive?
Because it's innocent.
Wow.
Doesn't know the ways of the world yet. Doesn't know that it's just supposed to be gravity.
Wow, some games you can choose to play with only S and Z tetriminos, so if you hate yourself...
Yeah, you really despise yourself.
Are playing the game as a punishment. Well, here's an idea. The Hunger Games, but instead it's how long can you keep playing Tetris?
Wow, that would be a much less interesting movie. like so much less interesting.
Just watching people sweat.
Just
watching people fail.
Amazingly less interesting in every way.
Oh, modern versions of Tetris, released after 2001, use a bag-style randomizer that guarantees players will never receive more than 4 S or Z pieces in a row. Well, thank God for that.
Hallelujah.
Because those are, without a doubt, the worst pieces. I mean, they're also great pieces, but it feels good when you get them right. You know? There's nothing it doesn't feel... What's the best Tetris move? The most satisfying Tetris move? I think there's a clear answer.
The skinny block.
Right, the skinny block getting 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Glad we agree on that. Is Tetris a game for change?
It has been used in a variety of different capacities. Like its most famous example is it's been used sort of to help combat PTSD. Because I guess it's like a focus thing.
Yeah, simple task.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's a study headed by Dr. Emily Holmes at Oxford University that for healthy volunteers, playing Tetris soon after viewing traumatic material reduced the number of flashbacks to those scenes in the coming week. It disrupts the memories that are retained of the sights and sounds witnessed. And again, let's put this all through. Psychology and all this kind of stuff is having a major replication crisis at the moment. Have you heard about this?
No.
Basically, it's like there's this like a group of scientists that are going through and trying to replicate all these famous psychology studies and like basically can't most of the time. Anyway, there's always like interesting like, oh, this video
game... Is that because the studies were done wrong or because people have changed?
I don't know. It's a lot of interesting... It's interesting. But every time I read one of these video game studies, I'm like, I wonder. Wow, apparently Tetris can also give a quick and manageable fix for people struggling to stick to diets or quit smoking or drinking.
Wow.
So this is going to be happening in the wellness center.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not the fun-nasium.
When they feel like they're going to die and they can't go on, you force them to play some Tetris.
It treats lazy eye.
Well, that sort of makes sense.
This is fascinating. The game has been noted to cause the brain, and I've experienced this, to involuntarily picture Tetris combinations, even when the player is not playing.
Like when you're like stacking boxes and stuff?
No, just like in your head.
Just in your head?
If I've played Tetris for any significant, and by that I mean like more than like a single game in a day, like when I close my eyes, I will continue to see Tetris happening.
Do you see Tetris, or is it just like stuck on your brain?
I can't call it back to mind right now unless I literally play Tetris live here for viewers, which I could.
Most media can get stuck on your brain after you play it for a while.
But I feel like Tetris is easier just because it's so simple.
Like, I've had an issue with like scavenging games where I'll like see something on the ground and be like, ooh, I should pick that up.
Oh my god.
Like something random. Like a block of wood, like, ooh, melee weapon.
You need to come to the wellness center to get treated for that.
Just when I've been playing it for an extended length of time.
Also, the game-nasium, not the fun-nasium. Obviously. It's a lot closer. How many people in the world do you think have played Tetris?
A million,
Billions?
bajillion, 50 gajillion, million, bajillion.
Seems right, yeah.
That's my guess.
Let's put that on the record, folks. 50 gajillion, fulfillion, million. I think that's a misquote.
You can get Tetris like on any system.
Play it on a graphing calculator.
Yeah, but you can even get it like on your console, which doesn't necessarily really make sense to me. I don't know why I would play
you do that?
Tetris with a controller. Like, I feel like that would just make it unnecessarily hard, honestly.
I don't think it would make it harder. I mean, you just play with the D-pad.
Directional buttons, yeah.
But why would you spend money on that? There's free Tetris all over the internet.
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
I don't know at this point.
Okay, talk about something else. I'm going to look that up, because maybe I just admitted to some very illegal activity.
There's nothing to see here. Move along. Look at the puppy. He will hypnotize you.
Is Tetris public domain?
So Tetris Magetris. Madeline looking up whether she'll have to go to Tetris jail.
Ah, I see. The game name and all associated works of Tetris are owned and trademarked by the Tetris Company. Surprise, surprise. However, the concept of tetrominoes is not owned by anyone, although the term is trademark. I'm not. It's not in the public domain, so maybe these free Tetris games. Oh, but game concepts cannot be copyrighted.
Yeah, that's sort of like a difficult thing happening in gaming and intellectual property right now in some cases. Like, it's difficult to say what can be copyrighted in a game. Like, like your game can be trademarked, but then what of that
Right,
is trademarked? Because saying, like...
mashing the X button, being attack.
Yeah. Like, there's only... you can't trademark controls or, like... even, like, basics. Like...
combat mechanics.
Yeah. Like, it's hard. So it feels... So, like, it's definitely hard sometimes when you have a game in development, and then another game comes out, and it's just exactly your game. Like, technically, you could still release your game, but it's difficult, I
feel like Tetris becomes... It's hard, right? Because it's like, so yeah, it's like, you can't copyright the game mechanics, but that's sort of all Tetris is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how could you create a game that uses anything from Tetris without creating
Well, I mean,
Tetris?
think of all the free fall variations.
What do you mean?
Candy Crush, all the free fall mobile games.
I guess.
All that sort of stuff. Bubble, Witch Saga.
Is that Tetris, though? Is that really Tetris?
Well, it's not Tetris. I'm just thinking, like, look at all those variations. They do the exact same thing. Why is that different than Tetris and the free Tetris mimics?
I guess that's true. Man, are these free? I've been playing the same free Tetris thing online, though, for, like, years. So I have to imagine it's not, unless it's actually associated with Tetris, but I can't imagine they'd put it up for free.
Well, I guess they just don't really care at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Copyright law doesn't actually protect the basic idea and underlying rules of a game. But again, that's all this game is.
Yeah.
This is so confusing. Video game copyright law is so confusing.
Yeah.
Here we go. There's the argument that basically, like I was saying, Tetris is so simple and abstract that every part of the game is a basic rule that can be legally copied. So yeah, this judge basically had to define what makes Tetris Tetris.
That's so
on
funny.
A very basic level. Here we go. I'll read this. I'll read from this. Here's the definition. Let's see what you guys think. Tetris is a puzzle game where a user manipulates pieces composed of square blocks, each made into a different geometric shape, that fall from the top of the game board to the bottom where the pieces accumulate. The user is given a new piece after the current one reaches the bottom of the available game space. While a piece is falling, the user rotates it in order to fit in with the accumulated pieces. The object of the puzzle is to fill all spaces along a horizontal line. If that is accomplished, the line is erased, points are earned, and more of the game board becomes available, or is available for play. But if the pieces accumulate and reach the top of the screen, then the game is over. These, then, are the general abstract ideas underlying Tetris, and cannot be protected by copyright, nor can expressive elements that are inseparable from them. So that sounds to me like you can create a game that looks exactly like Tetris, and just not call it Tetris, and you're fine.
That sounds, yeah. Pretty much sounds right.
Man, that, oh, but here's the copy. Here's the things that are protected. Ready?
Ready.
Dimensions of the playing field. 20 squares high by 10 squares wide. The display of garbage lines. The random junk that can optionally appear at the start of the game. The appearance of ghost or shadow pieces, which highlight where a piece is going to land. Oh, see, that's not on mine. The one that I played.
Yeah, so it's visual. Yeah. Visual aspects.
The display of the next piece to fall. The change in the color of the pieces when they lock with the accumulated pieces, and the appearance of squares automatically filling in the game board when the game is over. I mean, that's some pretty lame protection right there. That's really lame.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that the guy who created Tetris is so rich by now that it doesn't matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure. But, man, how crazy that a game like that could go on to be, like, the biggest game ever, though.
Well, it's simple. It's addicting.
It's like the sort of harbinger of mobile gaming.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow. Tetris, granddaddy of Candy Crush.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Granddaddy of The Walking Dead.
That's
I mean, kind of is. Are we at that point where I should switch yet?
Probably.
Great. Speaking of The Walking Dead, Firewatch. No. Some of the guys that worked on Firewatch worked on The Walking Dead.
No, that's not super surprising to me.
Yeah, they like the main game designer had worked on both of those first.
So Firewatch is perhaps so far one of the most successful of this sort of new fad in gaming that people disparagingly kind of call walking simulators.
Say what?
Disparagingly?
There we go.
Whatever. Means the same thing.
Madelyn corrects Emma's pronunciation. Take 20,000.
Disparaging term of walking simulator.
We scripted that.
Which
that was my dialogue
it's
option.
Not inaccurate to call it a walking simulator.
I could have said nothing.
What?
But I chose to comment on your sorry, I'm making a joke about these choice-based games and it's not really landing.
Oh, okay, whatever. So it's like
walking simulator.
Yeah, so like Gone Home and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and the latest one I think is like What Remains of Edith Finch. And they're sort of like adventure games, honestly. Like, I don't know why people are making such a big stink about them when they're basically just like old school adventure games, like point and click adventure games. Mostly.
Yeah, with no
Some
combat.
of them are less interactive than others. Like, there was this really artsy one that I played called Virginia, which basically is not, like, there's not much interaction at all.
Mm-hmm.
But Firewatch, I think, is definitely, you can call like an adventure game, because you actually do run around and sort of explore, and you can find things and pick stuff up and throw them at things and all that sort of stuff.
So we should give a quick summary of the game before we get too deep into this, for those who haven't played or haven't heard of it.
Okay, so Firewatch, you play as Henry, who's like a 40 to 50-something-year-old man. It actually opens with an entirely, like, a mostly entirely text-based segment where you sort of set up his past relationship with his wife, Julia, who, this isn't really a spoiler because you get it in like the first 5 minutes of the game.
She has dementia.
But she has early onset dementia. And Henry has been struggling to deal with that, and so he ends up taking a job as a firewatch in the Shoshone National Forest. And that's where you pick up with him, is he's arrived for the summer at his new firewatch job, where you basically live in a tower and watch for fires.
And it's 1989.
Yes.
Which sort of affects the game in that you, like, the main mechanic of the game, other than sort of, because you don't really control where he goes, right?
Yes, you do.
Oh, you do?
I mean, you are told to go places, but you walk him around.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
But the main mechanic of the game, and I think the thing the game has gotten the most press for, is that basically most of what happens is you talk to your supervisor, Delilah, on your walkie-talkie. And so, like, that's, like, it's not just you wandering around lonely in the woods.
Yeah.
That'd be a
Although it
game.
Sort of is, because, you never, in this game, you never see another human face.
You know why? Part of the reason why,
part of the reason why is development costs. That's part of the reason why everything.
They didn't want to lip sync.
It's very, I mean, they did it cleverly, right? They didn't just say, like, oh, we don't have the money for that. Let's try to do it anyway, you know? They were like, here's what we can do with our development costs. Let's make a game that works around that.
I'm not saying it was a bad choice.
I'm explaining to the viewer.
I just think it's interesting how a lot of the times, like, the things that games, like, the big sort of quote-unquote artistic wow. Cappy was not having that. I just think it's interesting that a lot of the time the sort of big artistic choices or whatever, like, things that games are known for, really just came down to, like, we didn't have enough money to do more than this.
Well, yeah, but you you have that in mind first, and then you make artistic choices that are still valid, you know.
No. I'm not saying...
It's not like they didn't put any thought into it.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm a big believer in, like, as an artistic strategy, like, putting limits on yourself and trying to work within those limits.
Mm-hmm.
I just always think it's super interesting when it's like, oh, like, the mechanic of the game is that you only ever talk to this one woman and you never see her.
Yeah.
When, like, originally they were like, we wanted you to talk to hikers, we wanted you to talk to all these people, and we just didn't have the money to do lip sync or time or inclination, whatever.
Yeah.
I just think that's fascinating.
But there is more to it than just, like, sitting in your tower and watching for fires. You sort of, there's, like, some mysterious happenings going on, right? Or at least what you are interpreting as mysterious happenings.
People are disappearing, right? That's
yeah.
not I'm trying to avoid like, I haven't read about the end of the game, because this is a game I would like to play.
I have seen the ending of the game, and a lot of people say, it's sort of controversial, because people say, oh, it's so disappointing at the end.
Really?
You know? And I wouldn't say that it's disappointing. I would say that it's anticlimactic.
What else are you gonna expect from this kind of a game? What's gonna happen? Like, aliens are gonna pick him up?
Maybe.
Like, suddenly it's like, combat! Like, fight the aliens!
Yeah. But I read a lot, after I saw the ending, I read a lot of, sort of think pieces on it.
Think pieces.
Yeah. And, like, you know, there's different schools of thought, you know, like, but I feel like it's fitting with the tone of the game, and that's all I'll say about the ending.
I think it's interesting, and I read about this, and I didn't really understand why you would want to play it. Since the original release of the game, they've released sort of like a open free play world,
Mm-hmm.
where you can just wander around.
Well, it's pretty.
Yeah. But
and you can find things like sort of that are supplemental stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can find notes and documents and that sort of stuff.
I just can't imagine, with the number of video games in the world that I don't have time to play,
Yeah.
why I would spend time wandering around a virtual forest.
I guess it's calming.
That's fair.
You want to chill out.
But that, I want to raise the question. So I talked in a side quest probably months ago now about how Netflix made this announcement that they're trying to, like, phase in some kind of, like, or create some kind of, like, interactive television kind of experience, where it's, like, you get to sort of choose your own adventure, somehow. And, like, I realized that, like, obviously that's not a video game. Like, you can have some kind of choice-based elements in television and movies, whatever, without it immediately becoming a video game.
Yeah.
Like, I press the play button to turn on my video, you know, that doesn't make me, I'm not pressing a button to start.
Yeah.
In the same way as I am with, like, Tetris, right? But I think games like Firewatch in particular, where it's like, I mean, there's not really anything other than you're making him walk and you're picking up stuff and your dialogue. And there are some games where it's like you're not even doing that. Like, you're just choosing dialogue. And at what point did those, particularly when they're of the cinematic quality of Firewatch, where is the line between, like, this is a very interactive movie experience and this is a minimally interactive video game? Weigh in, puppers.
I think that people get hung up on the term video game too much, and that, you know, maybe we need a different word to encompass the whole medium.
Interactive media experience.
Yeah. It's just like, there are things that interactivity can do in a story that, when stories have interactivity, it makes them different than when they don't have interactivity. There are ways you can use interactivity that puts a different way that you interpret the events.
That was fun. Emma got to, viewers didn't get to see this, and I'm now reading this for the second time, but Emma got to do that exchange just like 3 times because our dogs won't stop barking.
And coughing. But I just think, like, you know, people use walking simulators so disparagingly, but it's like, if you don't like it, just don't play it, you know? Like, you don't have to say that an area of the industry is worthless or stupid. Like, if you don't like it, don't play it.
But
Like, I don't like online first-person shooters. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist. I'm just not playing them.
But if I don't like it, it must be bad.
Well, I feel like, no offense to any of our listeners, but some of the gamers out there do have that perspective. Like, they're like, I don't agree with it. It's evil.
That's something that we learned about in theater school, like first semester. One of my professors taught us, it's like, look, you cannot like something. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to recognize if it's good.
Yeah. It's such a young medium is the thing, I feel like, even now. You know? It's just like, it needs to mature some more, and it needs to understand that if you criticize games in both sides, you understand that if you criticize games, you have to do it in a way that's like respectful in some ways, but it also doesn't mean that you despise that it's condemning you just because you like it.
Well, video games, I feel like, don't have the critical, because they arose in a time where sort of critics, even of traditional mediums, are sort of in decline, right? And while I think that video game critics have a lot more power than a lot of these traditional critics do in this day and age, just because video games are such a financial and time investment, and there are fewer. Like, I don't think somebody giving a bad review to a Mario game is gonna stop it from selling like gangbusters. But because there are fewer of those franchises that are sure thing bestsellers, unless you're Nintendo and that's all you have anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the critics do have a lot more power to be like, this game is good, you should play it. And people do still listen to Kotaku or IGN or whatever.
I don't know if we want to get into the whole different controversies over video game criticism, both from the fact that Metacritic scores can determine people's salaries, and also how people insist that reviews give scores, right? Numerical scores, because that goes into the Metacritic. But then people don't actually read the review, and then attack critics for giving games they like low scores when they didn't actually read the review. So there's a lot of, and we won't touch Gamergate even at all, besides saying that it exists.
I'm sure it'll come up eventually, but this is not really the game to talk about that.
Yeah, and so, but there's a lot of issues there.
But I sort of got in the tangent of saying, oh, these critics do actually have power. What I was really trying to say is that because there hasn't been, like, a tradition of critics that are really respected, or New York Times gaming critics, you know what I mean? Not that anyone, like, you know, the New York Times theater reviewer used to be able to close a show with a bad review, and that doesn't happen anymore. And, like, video game people do sort of still have that power. Like, No Man's Sky got terrible reviews. It's dead.
To be fair.
It's a bad game. But, like, but more people would have bought it if not realizing without those reviews. And so I think that video game reviews, this is like nothing to do with Firewatch, but whatever, do serve that important role, because there is so much right now, and I know there's sort of maybe beginnings of a crackdown on this, of games that put out misleading previews.
Yeah.
And so video game reviews do serve as an important arbiter of, like, well, this is what they showed you, but this is really what it is. And, like, I probably wouldn't buy a game without reading a review of it.
Yeah, honestly. Or even looking at some fan reviews, you know? Like, if I'm looking at something on Steam, sometimes I'll just read the comments people have left, as opposed to actually looking it up online.
I mean,
but
I'll buy Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, yeah.
I don't need to I mean, I'll read the reviews because I'm interested, but, well, maybe I won't because I don't want to spoil it, you know, in 2050 when it comes out. But again, I keep tangenting off my original point. Because video game criticism emerged in the online world, I mean, I realized there was, like, Nintendo Power and there were magazines for a while, but because video game criticism has lived online for most of its existence, I feel like the comments and whatever are always going to be a problem.
Let's go back to Firewatch for a second, because I feel like here's a place where we have differing opinions in terms of choice-based games. You know, not like diametrically opposed opinions, but different opinions. Like, you can't change the ending of Firewatch through the choices that you make. I don't think that's a spoiler. But the story goes in one way regardless. And my opinion is that there are games where you are the character and games where you're just wearing the character's shoes for a while. So, in the end, they're still their own character. You can't do anything with that. You can just sort of experience it and provide minimal input. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But Madelyn does.
No, I have less of a problem with it with a game like Firewatch. This game feels like sort of a meditative type game, and a game where it's like you're more focused on sort of the relationship building, and it's less about like what's going on plot-wise. Like, I don't really believe that your conversation with your supervisor would affect the disappearance of teenage girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas with the Telltale games, I feel like the stakes are often a lot higher in a different way. And also, it's just less visual. Like, clearly part of the point with Firewatch is to walk around and look at how beautiful, like, for God's sake, the designer didn't like the tree engine, so she designed all the trees herself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the game artist is like an actual famous artist. Just artist, period. Like,
yeah.
So that's sort of different.
So part of the game feels like a visual experience, and so it's more like, okay, like, this is an interesting experience. It's like I'm out hiking, but I'm not. But with sort of more of the Telltale variety of this, it's like, there's not... I mean, the visuals are fine.
Yeah.
They're laggy.
Yeah, they're glitchy.
They're laggy and glitchy, and they have that whole, like, so-and-so will remember. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the so-and-so will remember that function.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like, ooh, I did something there.
Yeah. But, I mean, I feel like even with Telltale games, in both this and Telltale, like, the fact is you have to remember you're only controlling one of the characters in the game. And in real life, you cannot control everything that everyone around you does by making certain decisions. As I found out in episode 4 of A New Frontier, screw you, Gabe! Sorry, just wanted to get that out there.
That was a really deep life point until you made that about a bitter video game moment. I was like, wow.
But no, you have
Emma.
to remember that you're only controlling one character. You can't control everyone's actions around you by doing something because they have their own characters. And sometimes what you could do can influence them, but sometimes they're just stuck on one thing, and that's how they're going to be. And that's the case in both Firewatch and a lot of choice-based games, I would say.
I just feel like when I'm talking to a character that exists mostly in my own head, my effects, it should affect him.
Your character fits mostly in your own head.
I'm kidding.
The other ones don't. They exist mostly in the game designer's head.
I'm kidding.
I'm just saying. That's the difference there. That's like the, you have to, like, you can't affect everything. So it'd be unrealistic, I feel like, in some games where you make a decision and that changes everything because you're just one person.
That's true.
Can't. So that's our differing opinions there.
Well, they aren't that different for this game. I just think they're different for other games.
Yeah, for the concept as a whole.
I did want to talk a little bit about Campo Santo, which is the game development company behind Firewatch.
This is their first game, right?
Yes. It's funny. It's weird. I was looking through their website. They've got a blog, where they, like, talk all about... The blog is not that interesting. What is really interesting is that they have a quarterly, like, literary journal.
Really?
That they publish.
That's so funny.
I haven't read these articles yet, but I'm looking forward to and maybe sharing them with you on the Facebook or something. They have an article about how the designers wanted to kill off Lara Croft, apparently, at some point in the Tomb Raider series. They were so sick of her. They have a handwriting analysis of Nathan Drake and BioShock and their handwriting in those games. They have a couple of things talking about, like, the sophomore slump and how they're, like, trying to come up with a different next game. And they've said that they're not going to make another Firewatch, that these characters are done, that they don't want to return to this. Yeah. I don't know how it ends, but...
I think that's good.
And they also have an article about Smokey the Bear, but the real-life one.
Interesting.
Apparently the U.S. government, like, made a bear cub, Smokey the Bear.
Wow.
Which is kind of horrible. But yeah, I love that. I have never like looked at like sort of video game websites for the video game before. What was I looking at? Oxenfree, I think I looked at, and theirs is fun too. But I like these like fun sites that the indie developers have.
Yeah. The people making Hellblade right now, they have these fun developer diaries where they just like make videos on like practically everything going into the game. Like there's this really fascinating one on the music, and how they're recording it. Because it's all like, it's like a, you know, like a full orchestra doing it, right? So it's really interesting to actually look at and watch. Because they're sort of trying to make a triple A quality game, but they're an indie studio. So it's interesting to see all the different aspects that goes into game development, and they really sort of open it up to you. So if you're interested in that, check out Ninja Theory, I think is what they're called. But we should go into mashing Tetris and Firewatch together.
It's impossible. You're a block and you talk to other blocks.
There you go.
There's not a way. These games are Tetris is too simple. Just like we talked about. Like, the basic elements of Tetris that you can't copyright are all that the game is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to build on that.
You're in the Shoshone, and you discover a mysterious
Tetris
thing. And you have to win it to uncover the secrets, only it turned out there were never any secrets all along.
I've got it. So, like, yeah, you live in the Shoshone, wherever, and there are strange things falling from the sky.
Oh.
And you can't explain it.
It's cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
No, it's not. They're not food. Well, maybe you're first, you're like, that's one of your dialogue choices. It's cloudy with a chance of meatballs. I just did that, like, SpongeBob meme right there, like, in person. I hope you people know what I'm talking about. The one where the letters alternate, capitalization, and SpongeBob looks dumb.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah, they totally do.
Okay. I forget that we're not recording these, like, way ahead of time anymore. Also, I just hit my leg a couple times, so hope y'all heard that. No.
Those are the sound of things falling from the sky.
Well, yeah, it's like, whoa, there's Tetris blocks. They're falling, but you don't know they're Tetris blocks at first. They're just blocks, and sometimes they disappear.
Whoa.
But they're falling faster and faster and faster, and you have to figure out what's going on. But of course, inevitably, the game must end. Fire Tetris.
Oh my god.
Tetris Watch.
And then they all set on fire, and you die in the fire.
You're Smokey the Bear.
Because you stopped doing your frickin' job and just looked at these Tetris blocks, and you totally ignored the fire.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
Okay, good. I was worried. I was like, Emma, you can't talk about that.
I was saying, because you said fire Tetris, so I thought there had to be a fire in there somewhere.
Yeah. Except you play as Smokey the Bear.
There you go.
What if you ever see Henry in Firewatch? You don't, do you?
You see a sketch of him.
Dang it.
And I think there's a photo at the very end.
Rats. I was hoping he was Smokey the Bear the whole time.
No, he's not Smokey the Bear. You can see his arms and legs the whole time, too.
Rats. Fine. I don't care about Tetris. Firewatch, but with a patch so you play as Smokey the Bear.
There you go.
No,
I don't know why she's obsessed with Smokey the Bear.
I just read that thing and I thought, Smokey the Bear is funny.
He's hilarious. Does the best stand-up.
He does. Look it up, people.
Smokey the Bear stand-up.
I don't know what that's going to bring up.
Yeah,
so
I don't know what
I
that's
don't actually endorse that. But no, I think my, like, mysterious blocks falling from the sky is not, I mean, it's not a good game. But it's a game.
Not a terrible mashup.
We had such good mashups
in the first
couple episodes, and now the games don't mash.
You have to do better at picking, Alan. That's basically
the problem is that we've been picking games that, like Tetris, are very specific, or that are just like two different sort of genre styles.
Yeah,
and you can only really mash them and create like a monster Super Franken game.
Like, well, the issue with Tetris, even, is that it doesn't have very many elements that you can pull from.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's Firewatch, but it's in a 20 block by 10 block.
Yeah, in two very different genres. You can pick, like, tiny elements from each one and mash them into a game, you know?
Yeah.
But Tetris, it only has one element, really, so...
That's not true. We went through it on the show.
Well,
it has
whatever.
like 7 elements.
Well, great. I'm so glad it has 7 elements.
So, I'd even talk about Firewatch in the Wellness Center. It's pretty obvious.
You set
go
them
for a
on
hike.
fire.
And you set them on fire. Burning calories. Ayo.
And then you make them jump off that cliff from the Witness into the water.
What if it's, the Firewatch Tetris is just you're, like, hiking up, like, Tetris blocks?
Ooh, you could do that too, yeah.
No, I'm not even talking about Wellness Center. I'm talking about, like, the game.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you're exploring, you're hiking through Tetris World, Tetris Death World.
To find the secret of the Tetris,
It's true.
you must hike to the top.
Alright.
But sometimes they disappear and you fall.
Is it game picking time?
I'm sure.
Hear them? They're real. This week they're real. We're not picking from the website. Which hat is which?
This is the old hat because One Direction doesn't exist anymore.
Oh. Is there a One
who?
Direction video game? I think I picked the...
I'm sure there is. Please.
I think you picked the old game.
Yeah, you pick the new game.
Okay.
Which one do we do first? Usually the old game, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Doesn't really matter.
You hear him? Closing my eyes. Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah, Spyro the Dragon. I was just talking about Spyro the Dragon the other day.
The purple guy.
Which one did we have? Like Year of the Dragon. And this is gonna be impossible. Just Dance 2017.
Spyro
You know what
the
that
dancer.
means? Videos of us playing Just Dance 2017
Oh no.
coming up on the Facebook.
Oh never.
Real soon.
Only
have
of
them.
Madelyn.
Already have them of Emma. Too
Next
late.
time Josh comes down here, we'll just do you and Josh doing it.
Josh has been keeping count of how many times he gets referenced. So we almost made it through
There
the
you go.
episode.
Tally mark, Josh.
Alright. This has been another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
We're your hosts.
Emma.
I'm Madelyn. Sorry, I didn't realize we were doing names.
Just in case they forgot who was who.
Yeah, we're your hosts. Thanks for hanging out with us
We
here.
love hanging out with y'all.
It's the best. Chatting about video games. Next time we'll get you a cup
Getting
of coffee.
off topic.
That's
no, we
what-
won't.
Well,
Get your own gosh darn cup of coffee.
I had tea during this one, which hopefully you didn't hear me sipping. So yeah, this is one of our full lengths. Tune in next week for another side quest.
Yes.
We're thinking about switching them up
Yeah.
in some.
Might not be next week, but look forward for that.
Yeah. If you see two girls at a coffee shop trying to figure out other podcast content ideas,
Well, maybe it is
it
us.
could be us. Although
Only
there are
if
a
you
lot of people that have.
specifically hear our voices.
Yeah. Which you'll recognize because you've hung out with us here on Talk This.
Although our voices probably sound different in person.
That's true. I sort of put on a podcast voice.
Yes! Because she is trained in the theater!
Oh, I have a degree.
There you go.
So, yeah, follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
Facebook.
all at Talk This Podcast.
Come to our website. I think we're really behind on the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
But if you've got show note ideas or you want to do them for us, hit us up.
Definitely, once you like us, interact with us. We love hearing from y'all.
Yeah, that's the best part. When we get comments, we do a dance.
Yes.
A Just Dance 2017. So on that note, we'll play you out. But just have a really lovely